Hello folks, R1 here. I've decided to pay some more attention to the Japanese lineup. I've neglected them shamefully lately, and with the addition of all the new aircraft in the last patch, I decided to start with the basics. I'm going to go ahead and train up the KI-27 Otsu, which looks to be a nimble little aircraft, reasonably speedy for its battle ranking, and traditionally armed for aircraft in that tier with a couple of small caliber machine guns. I suspect this aircraft is exceedingly agile. Top speed is supposed to be fairly decent. Has fixed landing gear, which is probably going to slow it down in the turns, but it may give it some advantages there as well. First I'm going to give it its trademark 1 for Ranger 1. And then I'm going to enter into a few arcade battles. I'm going to train up the modules there, and then later on we'll see about running it in some realistic battles and see how she does. First flight, first battle. Stalingrad, it's a ground strike mission. Of course. Obviously I don't have a thing upgraded on this aircraft yet, so we'll have to see how she does stock. Pretty pleased that the match seems to be well filled out with players. That should make things interesting. Well, the guns seem to do the job on ground vehicles. We'll focus on those a little bit here at first. Remember, I'm trying to grind up modules on this plane, so I'm going to pay a lot of attention to the grinding work of killing AAA, but that's not the only thing I'm going to do, of course. I've got to try this thing out in a variety of circumstances, including against other aircraft, so don't worry. It's not all about ground attack this time. Although I have to admit, it does ground attack exceedingly well. Also seems nice and tight in the turns, which always helps. Now things are starting to heat up. Well, it was only a biplane, but it sure ripped into it pretty well. I like the accuracy on these guns already. Oh ho. Oops. That was close. I do believe he tried to ram me. We're going to focus on him for just a minute here. I certainly can't complain about that. Well, okay, I'm starting to get chewed up now. My agility is starting to suffer. Fortunately, this match is just about over. I couldn't get out of his way. Well, that's alright. The handwriting's on the wall. I will jump in Hagiri's premium A5 M4 fighter, but it's really unnecessary. By the time I get to the fight itself, it's just about over. The last ground target is dead ahead of me, and if the NPCs hadn't finished it off, I would have finished it off myself a second or two later. Yeah, it just doesn't survive. So, that was the first match. I'm pretty pleased with it so far. And that's going to get me about halfway to having all the modules that I want ground up and fitted to the aircraft. I have definitely had far, far worse first flights in different aircraft before. This one has potential. That match was pretty quick, so let's go ahead and look at my second match in this aircraft. It's going to be on Spain. Also a ground strike mission. I like this map. I think it's interesting. And visually, I like the aesthetic as well. But I always seem to have some pretty good matches. You've got that mountain range in the center and little pockets of NPCs to go after, and sometimes the whole point of the battle is just to fight your way across the map to get to the other ground targets because they're widely separated by geography. It adds an interesting element to combat matches of this level. I'm going to gain some altitude because I've seen a Stuka in the distance, and I want to see how this plane climbs. Although, granted, yes, it's in arcade mode, so it's going to climb a little better in this mode than realistic battles later on, but it gets up to its necessary altitude pretty smartly. The Stuka sees me coming, so he's going to get a little bit froggy. I can't say as I blame him. He's going to turn here in just a second and try and do a little strafing run on me. It's a whole lot better than just sitting back and waiting for it to happen. And he probably isn't real familiar with this aircraft yet. He doesn't know what to expect. And then wisely he tries to dive away from me. And he does pull some range rather quickly. I can't really, even in arcade mode, keep up with him in the dive. But I managed to stay close enough that he doesn't get away from me. I will have to admit that I am not the best person in the world shooting at a downward angle like that, though. I just don't lead properly, but he makes the mistake of leveling out, and I'm able to catch up and get quite a few good hits in on him before he peels away again. Whoa! I almost ran into a teammate there. I didn't even know he was there. I'm just going to duck out of this after putting one really good burst into that Stuka. That guy wants him that badly, he can have him. And the Stuka's going to crash here in just a second anyway. Oh, and there's something that I didn't want to see. A Yak 1. These things are really, really good and really, really hard to take down. Especially with small caliber machine guns. But you know what? I wanted to put this plane through its paces, so we're going to go ahead and engage. I know it's going to be a rough fight. My main objective is just to make sure he does not get behind me, because he can take me out with one good burst. But I'm beginning to think that that's not going to be a whole lot of a problem with this aircraft. I stick on his tail without a whole lot of difficulty. He has to start the arcade wobble, unfortunately, which, well, you know me. That means I am bound and determined to take this guy down to the exclusion of all other targets. I'll give him this. He didn't get real bad about it. He'll have his moments here and there where he gets dumb about the wobble thing, but for the most part he plays it clean. Now I have just been riddling him with machine gun fire. It's sparks all over the place, and you'll see the occasional damage marker pop up, but that plane can soak up damage like nobody's business. I am just riddling this guy, and he's just shrugging it off so far. And again, my worst problem appears to be my teammates. This fella's trying to help or steal my kill, one of the two. Anyway, he's invading my personal bubble here. I'm going to assume he's trying to be helpful. I'll be honest though, I really kind of wish he'd just take off. I wanted to see how I did one-on-one against this Yak 1. Well, there he goes. Yep. We got him. I don't think the other fella did too much damage to him. I'm going to call that a win for this airplane. I know a lot of folks say that you really can't take down a Yak 1, but I think that more applies to realistic battles than arcade battles, because it really wasn't that rough for me this time around. Oh, this is a mistake. I want this guy bad, but he takes out my engine on the way by. So I'm going to put what shots I can in before I go down completely in flames and a burning wreck. Hey, at least I got the Yak 1. That alone made this battle worthwhile. Well, I'm going to jump on Hagiri's again. I'm going to ask that renowned ace for help. And he's going to give it to me. If you've ever flown this plane, you'll understand that I'm not going to go into detail on the rest of this battle. I'll just show you a few little clips here and there of the action that is typical when you fly this airplane. I focus mainly on the aircraft at first and try and clear the skies over our friendly ground targets so that they don't extend their lead. We're hurting a little bit right now on ticker points. But there isn't really anything on the enemy team right now that can pose too much of a threat to this particular little Japanese fighter. Somebody should tell that pilot that spinning in a barrel roll in a perfectly straight line doesn't make you harder to hit. Oh well. Ignore me. I'm just being snotty. I like this little plane. It impresses me too. I'm going to take out the occasional ground target here, but the fighters are starting to get scarce over our ground targets that they're trying to take out. So I take out one entire pocket with the help of my random squad mate and another player on my team. We clear out one pocket of ground targets relatively quickly. I don't want to bore you with that. There's another group all the way across the map. So I try and assist a teammate here on the way across, but I'm starting to draw a lot of enemy fighters on my tail. They're kind of closing in. I can see them in the distance. They know what I'm going to do. My random squad mate and I have made it to this other pocket of ground vehicles, and we're going to try and take them out as quickly as we can. It's very close right now, but if we can take these last few targets out, we've got the match, and they know it. Going just a little too fast here. Need to swing it wide and slow down a bit, come back and bring my guns to bear. My squad mate is doing exactly the right thing. He's also concentrating on ground targets as a priority, but when we start getting enemy fighters in our personal airspace, he's going to break off and provide me some cover to allow me to work the ground targets with as little interference as possible. Yeah, they're coming on hard. We'll loop over the top, head back down. I think we've just got one more left at this point. All I have to do is avoid this guy. My squad mate's on his tail. There it is. And we're done. Thank you, Hagiri. That was very helpful. Well, so far we seem to be batting 1,000 between the plane I'm working on and Hagiri's. We have racked up a lot of points, and that is going to purchase just about all the mods that I need to max out this plane. Boy, there might be one or two I don't remember. There might be one or two that I don't get at this point, but they're not that big a deal. I've got the ammunition that I want, and all the major modifications are done. So here's the last battle. It's not very long. I'm not going to talk your ear off through it like I did the first two battles. I'm just going to kind of let you see how this plane operates when it's pretty well decked out. Keep in mind, this is literally my third battle in this aircraft. You've seen it all, start to finish all the way through. No filler matches in there to beef it up. So you've seen all the grinding involved, not a whole lot, but now it's time to have some fun. sorry I had to cut away for a second there. The replay system for War Thunder still has a few bugs. I tried to show you a different view and it locked on blue sky for about 3 seconds. So I cut it out. Yeah, at this point in the match, for the most part, I'm going to be concentrating on ground targets just to finish the match off. That's just for perhaps a minute longer. Well, I'm going to mostly concentrate on ground targets. Not entirely. I just don't want to neglect my team when I'm busy having fun and do something to help the cause, so to speak. The enemy team doesn't seem to appreciate it, though, because I end up with most of the survivors on my tail at this point, and they all seem to be trying to stop me from finishing the match for some reason. Well, anyway, that's the KI-27 Otsu. In arcade battles, at least, it's a really good little airplane. I think it's well worth training up and having fun in from time to time. It even flies pretty well when it's shot to hell like this. I will be flying this in some realistic battles. I've flown one or two. It has a little tendency to have trouble getting its nose down, but I think there are ways around that. Anyway, that's for a future video. Until I see you again, good hunting.